Welcome to the game of life. Your mission objective, conquer your monkey mind once and for all by learning how to stop the racing and anxious thoughts, which will allow you to be present in the moment, which will ultimately allow you to be your most genuine, natural, and authentic self in all social situations. The number one question I get asked and the number one problem that I see so many people, no matter where you live, no matter how old you are, no matter what's going on in your social life, right? Without a doubt, is this thing on my shoulders. This stupid ass monkey mind that, as I've mentioned so many times in so many videos, just doesn't know how to shut the hell up.
I know it's easy for your mind to wander.
And this stupid monkey mind will race with thoughts of, I'm not good enough, I'm not smart enough. Who am I to be talking to these people right now? Maybe I'm speaking too much, maybe I'm not speaking enough. Help me, right? It's just an absolute mess up there. And the secret to overcoming this problem is a really simple solution, but by no means is it an easy one. Because the solution, as daft as it sounds, is to be fully in the present moment. It's to be so enveloped in what you are doing, what you are saying, who you are listening to, that this mind has no option but to turn off and go back on autopilot so that you can finally focus and be present in your life. It's very, very difficult for your mind to jump in with these anxious, with these malicious, with these harmful thoughts that you are not good enough. But as I said, simple, but by no means easy. Honestly, it's probably impossible for the majority of us that aren't Buddhist monks, that aren't enlightened and haven't found nirvana just yet, right? Which is probably 99% of you watching this video. Because if I told you right now to not think about a pink elephant, whatever you do, don't think about Dumbo flying in the sky, beautiful pink color, maybe he's got like a little red hat on, right? What are you doing? You're thinking about Dumbo, the pink elephant flying with a red hat on. Because unfortunately, our minds are automatic. They just act without us even knowing half the time. So the big question becomes, how do we practice calming the mind? How do we practice getting into that state of utter presence and utter peace in the current moment so that we can finally enjoy our social life? We can enjoy speaking to that friend on a deep emotional level. We can enjoy speaking to that beautiful girl that we've just met without our minds fucking everything up, right? Without our minds telling us that we should never be speaking to her in the first place because she's busy and she's too pretty for us. We don't want that, because with our minds in the picture, we cannot be our most authentic, confident, and genuine self. So how do we overcome this problem? In this video today, I'm going to reference two incredible concepts from two unbelievably impactful books that have changed the course of my life. And I highly recommend you read both of these books in their entirety, because they truthfully and honestly will change your life and change the game for you totally. And ironically enough, the concept that I'm about to share with you today is literally the same kind of concept in both books, albeit they've been used in a totally different philosophy and in a different way. But because I'm such a genius and because you guys love watching these videos, I'm going to show you how both of these concepts can literally merge together to give you the best chance at firstly quieting this big block of mush and brain up on your head, but secondly, allow you to really be confident and really be authentic once and for all. Let's start with the first book, which is very politely titled, Fuck It, Accept Life Just As It Is. Really funny book. Honestly, the author is just hilarious. He's one of the funniest writers I've ever read. So genuinely, if you have a good sense of humor and you don't mind a little bit of profanity here and there, absolute class book, 10 out of 10. But anyways, let's get into the concept that he discusses that we're going to start with. The author, John Parkin, throughout the book, discusses how humans have always struggled with mindfulness. We've always struggled being present in our lives. And we've started to create these little processes and these spiritual activities that allow us to be present. One being meditation, right? In the whole mindfulness community, meditation is what everybody will tell you to use in order to become present. It works fantastically, but the author doesn't exactly like its kind of rigid use when it comes to everyday life. Because here's the truth. You can't walk around your life every day closing your eyes, breathing, flipping, trying to meditate. You'll bump into people and you'll cause a scene. So meditation, as wonderful as it is not very practical. And this is where he shows you a different way. Parkin goes on to describe the mind as having 3 default settings, or in other words, 3 default modes of operation. Starting with mode 3. In this state of mind, you are completely unconscious. You are not present in the moment, and you have allowed your mind to go off in a tangent. You are totally lost in thoughts, and you are literally just a prisoner up inside your own head. And I'm sure you can relate to this experience. You're driving home from work or from college or whatever the case is, and all of a sudden you wake up and it's like, oh, I'm home. How the hell did that happen? It happened because your mind went unconscious and your body literally just went onto what we call autopilot. It just did its thing on its own. You allowed your mind to get totally lost in thoughts. And this, unfortunately, is the state that 99% of humans inhabit probably more than half of their entire day. Most likely more, to be honest with you. As you can already imagine, this is the worst state of mind to be in, not only in your everyday life, right? Because you're an NPC at that stage, but it's obviously terrible for your interactions when you are talking to somebody and you just feel absolutely lost inside your own mind. This is like red zone. We don't want to be in mode 3. Now, a beautiful thing happens when I ask you the simple question, what was it that you were thinking about a minute ago, right? What was the contents of your mind? Or when you were in the car, what were you thinking about in that hour up till the place where you got back home? You'll notice very subtly that another witness or another mind, shall we say, comes into the picture. Because you could literally stand back and look at the thoughts objectively. A lot of people don't realize that, yes, we have our thoughts, but if you really have a look at that, you aren't exactly your thoughts because you simply have the ability to take a step back and view and witness the thoughts. Kind of trippy, right? But if you really contemplate this by asking yourself that question, what was I thinking about a minute ago? And bringing those thoughts and that contemplation into the forefront, you'll notice that you have what we call 2 separate minds, the thinking mind and the witnessing mind. And this is when the game starts to change. When you enter the state of mind, when you are the conscious witness looking at the thoughts, thinking consciously about the thoughts, you have now entered what Parkin calls mode 2. You have become the witness of your thoughts. And as a result, a little bit more consciousness has arrived in your situation. This is great progress because now you can finally take a step back and look at the thoughts such as, my friend's an asshole. I want to murder them today. And instead of just being the thought and going off and chopping heads, right? Going all Freddy and Jason on these assholes, you can step back and think, murder. That probably wouldn't be a good idea, but at least I'm noticing that I'm irritated with the friend. What should I do about that? So you see, now you're becoming conscious of the actions that you could take, and you're not just totally caught up in the red zone, right? So it's pretty obvious to realize that mode 2 is a much better place to be in. However, it's far from optimal, and it's definitely not the exact place you want to be in order to be your most fully present, most genuine, most authentic version of yourself. So what do? This is where the absolute mind-blowing question comes into play that allows us to get into what we call mode 1, the state of total presence, total awareness, and total peace. And I'm going to get you into this state by asking you one simple question. You ready for it? Ask yourself, what will my next thought be? If you're having the same experience as me right now, you might realize that there's silence. You're waiting for a thought to pop up, but there's no thoughts. Your mind just went blank, didn't it? Because you asked your mind a question that it couldn't fulfill. You asked your mind to be conscious and to think consciously. But the mind doesn't do that because the mind thrives on unconscious losing of itself. Unconscious thinking processes that just happen sporadically. But when you take control and you ask yourself, what will my next thought be? I wonder. Silence. And this is the beautiful level and the beautiful state of mode 1 thinking. You can honestly feel free to ask yourself this question every single time you get lost in thoughts because it's a brilliant way to bring yourself back into mode 1. Simply ask yourself, what mode am I in right now? More often than not, you'll find yourself in mode 3 because you'll have enough consciousness to say, I wonder what mode I'm in. Hence, you're coming out of the unconscious state of thoughts, wonder what's happening there, I'm stressed about this, blah, blah, blah. And all of a sudden now you place yourself into one of 2 modes, which is either mode 2 or mode 1. Usually you'll start off in mode 2 because the thoughts will have a little bit of momentum. But the beautiful part of this is that you'll only stay in mode 2 for a little while because you'll know in the back of your mind that mode 2 isn't really the place you want to be. So you'll naturally gravitate towards mode 1 again, where you are totally peaceful, totally present, and totally in the moment. And when you are in mode 1 in social situations, when talking to your friends, when talking to your colleagues, when talking to your boss, when talking to the future love of your life, that's when you access power. That's when you access total presence and you can be your natural self. If you want to click off this video right now, please feel free to do so, because honestly, if you just take the advice I've given you right now by asking yourself consistently, what mode am I in right now? You will experience so much more presence, so much more calm, and so much more tranquility in your life, and your social relationships will blossom. But for the scholars out there who have a thirst for knowledge, who want to learn every little bit of information they possibly can to maximize their social skills, their relationship building efforts, I've got a second piece of advice for you from the second book that I've mentioned. This book is called Mode 1 by Alan Roger Currie. Again, a phenomenal book. And this one's mainly tailored to the dudes because at the end of the day, it's a dating book. But just because it's a dating book for dudes does not mean that the ladies out there cannot benefit from this as well. Because the fundamental concept behind this strategy is across the board, and it'll allow you to be your most genuine and authentic self. As you may have guessed from the title of the book alone, Currie also works in modes. But instead of doing modes for levels of presence, levels of being aware, he uses modes in terms of describing levels of honesty. Currie essentially argues that all men should be their most honest and authentic selves at all times. He argues that most men play what we call the nice guy card, which is, ironically enough, mode 2 in Currie's book. He states that when you're a nice guy, you don't want to shake the boat. You don't really want to directly go for your authentic core desires. You want to play it nice and play it cool so that you can almost trick women or trick other people into giving you what it is that you want so that you can enjoy happy, satisfying, sexual, fulfilling relationships. But he argues that this is really the wrong way to go, because at the end of the day, you want to live your life authentically. You want to be a man of your word, a man of integrity. And what does a man of integrity do? He lives true to his core desires and what he believes is right. Behind mode 2 is mode 3 and mode 4. And without getting into too much context, because it's not useful to the current lesson that we are doing today, mode 3 talks about how the nice guy will actually slip back into an even worse state. And that is the guy that simps, right? It's the guy that has absolutely no backbone, and he'll do whatever it takes to literally get a little bit of attention from women or from the world at large. He's not his most genuine and authentic version of himself because he doesn't accept himself. And at the end of the day, it all comes down to acceptance. If you don't fully accept yourself as you are in the present moment of your life right now, flaws and all, you will never be able to accept the love and the relationships and the affection of other people. It's a hard truth to swallow, but I'm realizing more and more and more that it's so true. You need to be cool in yourself. You need to be grounded in your present life in order for you to get the relationships that you so badly want to get. And that brings us to Currie's mode 1, being as authentic, as truthful, and genuine as you can be. This is the guy that has absolutely no shame about his desires. If he wants to marry a woman and he wants to date this girl that he cares about, he'll go up to her and say, listen, I like you. I really want you in my life. I think we should date. If the guy wants to have casual sex, if he looks at a woman and thinks, damn, I would love to just get her back to my place, right? He has no shame about that either. He doesn't think, oh, I'm a creep. I shouldn't want that. My sexual needs are wrong. He doesn't think that, right? He thinks to himself, that's what I want. I'm going to be authentic about it. Not rude, obviously. He doesn't act like a misogynistic asshole, but he's direct and he's honest about what he wants without shame. And paradoxically, according to Currie, this is what makes not only women attracted to you, but the entire world attracted to you. We are all attracted to people that are genuine, that are honest, that are authentic and confident and calm and accepting of themselves. First and foremost, that is what attracts us to being around those kind of people, because they just simply don't give a fuck. If you want to start feeling good about yourself and present and accepting of who you are in the moments, you need to be present and you need to be authentic in that present moment. And that is what will not only attract other people to you, but it will attract you to your damn self, because you realize that you are good enough right here, right now. So when you go into mode 1, according to Currie's book, mode 1, you become your most authentic self. You remind yourself that when I'm in mode 1, I cut the bullshit. I am who I am. I don't apologize for who I am. And as long as I'm respectful enough, I have the right to say what I feel is correct. So here is how you are going to combine mode 1 from fuck it and mode 1 from mode 1. When you are lost in thought, when you are stressed out and anxious and you're in a social situation and you remember, oh shit, I'm unconscious right now, ask yourself, what mode am I in right now? And naturally, as we've discussed, you will go from mode 3 to mode 2 when you step back and witness the thoughts, and eventually into mode 1 when your mind is clear and you are present. Once you are in this present stage of mode 1 and you are totally in the present moment and you're talking to somebody, whether that be a beautiful girl, and you're having a conversation with her, and this girl says to you, what's your opinion on fuck it, Andrew Tate, right? And this is one that a lot of guys are absolutely terrified of. Let's say she asks you this question, and all of a sudden, your mind that was present, all of a sudden has the thought of, you know what? I actually kind of like Andrew Tate. But what happens now when you're afraid and you realize that this woman may be a feminist, this woman may be upset with you, thinking that you like Andrew Tate, maybe she won't like you anymore, which kind of ruins your game plan. You have two choices. You have the choice to be inauthentic in that present moment or absolutely genuine with your opinions. And now comes the time when you need to be brave and you need to be honest about what it is that you actually feel. Because here's what actually will happen to you if you lie. And now you say to her, oh no, he's a misogynistic asshole. I never learned anything from him. And I think men like that should just, be banished from the world. You may get a good response initially from her saying, oh wow, I agree with you. I think he's an asshole and a pig, blah, blah, blah. But women are not stupid. And neither is the rest of the world. You'll feel it on a subconscious level. And if you lie to this woman, she'll know. And her respect for you will drop. And therefore, your relationship and your future potential relationship will either suffer or it'll end right there because you weren't being genuine. However, if you are honest with her, what actually happens is, yes, she may disagree with you. She may think, oh, this guy's an idiot. I don't agree with that. Fair enough. But what actually happens deep down subconsciously is that this girl respects you a lot more now. Because she can sense that you were true to your nature, you were true to your opinion, and you were willing to upset her in the interest of your own authentic desire, your own authentic opinion, which reflects that you are comfortable in your own skin and you are not afraid to be yourself and show yourself to the world, flaws and all. This is the game changer, and this is what attracts people to you. It literally can't be simpler than that, guys. Be present and then be authentic in that present moment. And I promise you, life will just be a lot simpler. You don't want people that are on the fence about you. If you want to enjoy your life and be fully engaged in the journey that you're on, you want to be with some ride or die motherfuckers. And the way to do that is to be present with them and to be as authentic to yourself as you possibly can. And to do that, stay in mode 1. It's that simple. If you really found value in this message today, please consider passing this on to a friend in need who might need the same message that I've given you today in their own lives. If you want to learn more about social skills, building phenomenal relationships, and becoming the kind of man that you would be proud to be, watch this next video for more. If you're feeling stuck and you really need some extra assistance, never fear. My contact details are down in the description for one-on-one personal coaching. Pop me an email and I'll see if we can work together on your specific issue. And if all else fails, ask yourself, if life was a game, how would I play?